How's it going, Pokemon fans? CJ here from JollyMonz YouTube channel, and this week I will be covering, let me find my mouse, Golisopod GX with Garbodor. And now, at the time I'm uploading this or recording this, we have, I think it's Daytona Regionals coming up in 2-3 weeks. I can't remember. I don't keep track. I just go where the rest of the guys tell me to. This is probably what I'm going to end up playing, so I figured why not go ahead and get a little bit more testing in with it. The main attacker of the deck, the one you want to start off with, is Golisopod. The main attack being First Impression, 1 grass energy, 30 damage, plus 90 more if it becomes your active during the turn it attacks. So it'll be hitting for 120. We also have Armor Press, which is probably the attack I use the least. I've used it once or twice in niche situations, but this is one you're usually going to ignore. 1 grass energy, 2 double color, or 2 energy, so grass and double colorless. 100 damage, and it takes 20 less from damage attacked during your next turn. I messed that all kinds. I'm just going to keep going. This attack doesn't even really matter anyways. And you got Crossing Cut GX, which I find myself using quite a lot because this is the main GX attack we're using. 1 grass energy and then 2 colorless energy, so grass and DCE. 150, and you switch this Pokemon with your bench. It's nice just to hit the big numbers, 150. Plus of course we got Choice Band to make it 180. Maybe something's already taken some damage earlier. Or maybe we just need to get Golisopod out of the active. For whatever reason. It's damaged, they might take a knockout on the next turn. Just Crossing Cut, get it out of there. Put up something different, preferably a 1-prize attacker. We do have Tapu Koko to help with the switching. Free Retreat. This is the best start of the deck. Like, you want to start off with this, and then once you get your evolution set up, you switch out and then start attacking. Excuse me. The Flying Flip attack is nice. That 20 damage could possibly set you up for some one-hit knockouts with Golisopod. Because we do 20 to something. Golisopod comes in, does at least 120, so that's 140. If a Pokemon is 170 HP, like a Lele, of course we do play Choice Band in this deck. So the 20 from Flying Flip plus First Impression with Choice Band is 170. That does hit a decent amount of the basic GXs and some of the EXs. I don't know if there's a lot of EXs being played. No, I don't think so. At least not many that are 750 or lower. But then if you wanted to, another Flying Flip would get you up to the 190, which does knock out a lot of stuff. And you'll never use Electro Ball because, well, you actually can use it, but I wouldn't recommend it. The secondary attacker is Trash Lands Garbodor. This is here just as a 2-of. It's basically just something to pick up the late game. Once you've gotten some knockouts with Golisopod, you just use this. Hopefully your opponents use enough items by then, and you can start attacking. 1 Psychic Energy. We have energies that give multiple types. And hopefully by then, you can start using Trash Lands, getting one-hit knockouts. But we're mostly playing the Garbodor line for Garbotoxin, just to slow down our opponents, because we really aren't relying on items, or not items, why am I saying items? We are not relying on abilities. As I'm looking at the list, this is only useful turn 1. It is a little bit awkward with Lele, but you probably want to use 1 Lele turn 1 to get a Bridget. Or if you just happen to have the Bridget, is nice. But, of course people are going to try to get rid of the Garbotoxin if they need items. So you'll have the Lele available when you need it. But yeah, this is just here to slow down opponents because, like I said, we basically don't use any abilities. I guess you can say the Trubbish kind of matters, because this can potentially just deal a lot of damage. Like, just say we have 2 Float Stones and a Choice Band. This is dealing 60 damage. If the Choice Band is on the Trubbish, you're dealing 90. Am I doing this right? Yeah. And, you know, it's already going to have one energy anyway, so attaching another one wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't place too much importance on the Trubbish, though. But this is an option that's available. There's also Acid Spray, which could possibly just discard a special energy. I just had this one in the deck at the time, so I'm just going to use it. And that's pretty much the Pokemon lineup. You do notice, I'll go ahead and go to the tools since I already mentioned those earlier. 4 Floatstone for the Garbodor, the Garbotoxin Garbodor. And because we want to keep switching our Golisopods, like best case scenario, we have 2 set up. They both have Floatstones, so you can just keep retreating, using First Impression, hit 120, and just keep going with that. But if we have to, we have Choice Band, make the First Impression deal 150 to hit 170 if we've already hit with Flying Flip, or just to attach to our Trash Lanch, you know, just wherever we need it at the time. I'm going to go ahead and go over the supporters. For the draw supporters, we just have 3 Juniper, 3 N, you know, the Juniper just in case we need a fresh hand of 7. We don't mind discarding stuff. And if we have stuff in our hand we want to keep, but we just need a new hand, or we're trying to put our opponent down to 1, 2, 3 cards because of the prizes they've taken. And there's also a one of Colress. You do keep a decent number of Pokemon on the bench. So if your opponent has 3, 4, you can get 6 to 8 cards, depending on what's going on. So not a bad card to have. And then if your opponent just happens to be playing a Skyfield deck, you draw a ton more. We have Guzma to help with the constant switching, or to just pick up something that's weak. Usually after about 3 or 4 turns, I find myself like not even playing my draw supporters anymore. I'm just using Guzmas constantly to switch out, pick off weak stuff, and start taking quick prizes. With some of the other supporters we have Acerola. Since we're stage 1 Pokemon, we don't really mind just straight up picking up our Pokemon off the board. It's not that hard to set up. Again, just 1 turn to play it, and then the other turn to evolve it. We have a pretty high HP stat, so it's pretty hard to one-shot us, unless, you know, of course, you're just a fire deck. So we can deny our opponent prizes by just picking up stuff. Or worst case scenario, this can just act as a way to pick up something in the active to get Golisopod in if we don't have Tapu Koko in the active or Floatstone. The one of Bridget for, you know, the first turn. Usually you want to have at least 2 Wimpod and a Koko in play. So if I don't have any of these, I'll grab these 3. But if I already have one, I'll grab like a Trubbish or something. But ideally, you always want to have 2 Wimpod, 1 Koko from what I've found. And then the 1 teammates, just to help get return knockouts, to help set up attackers if they knock out your only one, which happens sometimes. Kind of just all around good card right now. We have the 4 versus Seeker, of course, to get back any number of the supporters I just mentioned. Just keep recycling your Guzmas, your Acerolas, or just keep using teammates. I've done that before. Ultra Ball. This card's just great. Grab Lele for the turn 1 Bridget. Grab any evolutions you need. This card's just fantastic. 2 Field Blower. I want to say that my opponent's items are kind of annoying, but really not that many of them are. I guess fighting Fury Bulb can be kind of annoying, but yeah, I think that, I mean, just ignore there to mess with the opponent, get rid of Floatstones and possibly Guzma and something that can't retreat easily. Get rid of Choice Bands. This is just a generically good card. There's not any specific reason it's in here. There has been some times where I've gotten rid of one of my tools to attach another. Like if something already has a Floatstone, but I need to knock out something this turn and I need that extra 30 damage, I'll just Field Blow away my own Floatstone to attach Choice Band. I've done it before. It's not something I would always do, but it's an option. Rescue Stretcher, kind of just another generically good card. And then the ace pick for the deck, when I was looking up lists for this, oh, something flew in my face. I saw people using computer search, but when I originally tried the like just straight up Golisopod, I fell in love with Scoop Up Cyclone. And the more I test with it, the more I'm just loving this card. Pick up something in the active that's paralyzed or asleep. I've had that happen to me a couple times, and I just pick it up with Scoop Up Cyclone, bring in a Golisopod, usually get a knockout. If they pull up your Garbotoxin Garbodor and get rid of its Floatstone, you can just pick it up. Pick up your Lele to grab another supporter. The more I use this card, the more I love it, and I don't really miss computer search. That's the thing. I feel like I would just generally rather have this card, just to keep up the prize denial and switching for the attacks. But I've rambled on long enough. I'm gonna go ahead and go find some games with this, and yeah, I'm just gonna go from there. So leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, stay jolly.